Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I hope you're doing well. As I had mentioned in my one of my previous videos last week, I had attended a Zoom meeting that was put on by the WSIB's Appeal Services Division last Wednesday. And the meeting was one of the 4 webinars that they've conducted over the past several months. They were discussing and implementing changes based on the value for money audit that was done late last year. So with that, the tribunals, or the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board Appeal Services Division, is making changes to the appeal process. And of course, you all know how I feel about the WSIB's Appeal Services Division, but I will say it again. It should be gone, because I think that all it does is adds time to the amount of time that injured workers have to wait to get justice in their claims. I believe that it is a significant duplication of process that isn't required. I believe that the resources that are being used to have this massive department could be best used to create a process within the operational division, a reconsideration process, where injured workers are given an opportunity to present their case if they disagree with the initial decision, and then be given the opportunity to go and appeal to the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal. And of course, you all know why I believe that the best place for justice for injured workers is at the tribunal. And I have over 30 years of experience of dealing with the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board and the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal to base my opinions on. And of course, these are my own opinions. But yes, over 30 years of experience and thousands of cases handled by my office. So the concerns I have with these new changes that they are implementing is that it's just going to add more time to the process. It's going to be more confusing. And I believe that it is, as most things that they do, and again, this is my opinion, I believe that it's self-serving. Because what happens when most people, when they are faced with dealing with these matters, particularly when you have a very complex system of laws and policies that seasoned paralegals and seasoned lawyers who've been doing this for years still have trouble navigating. And to expect an injured worker to be able to not only manage their own claim, but to handle their own appeal and go through all of these processes, I think it just adds more frustration and more stress to the overall injury, and causes people to give up, throw their hands up in the air and say, fuck it, I'm done with this. And unfortunately, what happens with that is you lose, and the WSIB gets to keep the money that they are collecting, which is mandatory, from employers to put into their coffers and do, well, you know what I believe they do with it. And a lot of it that should be going to you isn't. So now that I gave you this very well-rounded explanation of why I believe that the Appeals Services Division at the WSIB should be gone, let's get on to the issue, because I do believe that it's important, even though I don't agree with it or what they're doing. I believe it's important that you understand. And a portion of my channel, a significant portion of my YouTube channel, is to give you my feedback on laws and changes that are taking place and how decisions are made and those sorts of things, to help you become more informed and to help you make informed decisions with your case. So in the spirit of that particular aspect of my channel, I want to make sure that I'm going to try and keep it simple, but I'm going to cover what some of these changes are. And initially I said I was going to do it in one episode and it would probably take about an hour. I'm going to split it into two because it can get confusing and it can be very dulling or very dull. And you may want to stick both of your fingers in your eyes halfway through the presentation or fall asleep. And so in order to keep you from doing that, let me keep things very simple. So today I'm going to talk about changes being made to the WSIB's appeal process. And so I'm going to put up a slide here. I'm going to cover the first episode. I'm going to talk about what happens at the operating level. So the operating level is the frontline people where the initial decisions are made, whether it's by an initial entitlement adjudicator or your case manager or a return to work specialist. That's the operating level of the WSIB. The second episode that I'm going to cover next Wednesday will deal with what happens when your file is actually at the Appeal Services Division and it's been assigned to an appeals officer and for then processing beyond that point. So there are 6 key elements that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here, and these are the first 3. So as you can see, the first one here talks about the decision by customer-facing decision maker. So in other words, that would be the customer-facing decision maker is your the eligibility adjudicator, or case manager, return to work specialist. These are your customer-facing decision makers. So in the first instance, the decision maker shares initial entitlement with workplace parties, verbally and in writing. And that's the initial decision. And the decision is made with consideration of any linked issues for the purposes of whole person adjudication. So they're claiming that they'll look at all issues. For example, multiple issues can be entitlement to one or particular areas of your body or disease, earnings calculation, how those were done. So those are linked issues. That's an example of linked issues. If either party disagrees, decision maker uses alternative dispute resolution skills to better understand, discuss, and attempt to resolve the issue. Well, the board could waste or could save a lot of time and money by actually hiring people that understand and have alternative dispute resolution skills so that that initial decision is done by someone who actually knows what they're doing. I talked in my previous video, this past Friday, Fat Cats Exposed, episode 4, about how I thought that first level decision should be made by their most experienced people. And the example that I used would be the people that they're using now, who are appeals resolution officers. Those are the ones that should be making those frontline decisions because that's the most important decision. And that's the one that could save a lot of time and money and aggravation. But anyway, they don't have to listen to anything I have to say because it's going to eliminate a large chunk of their budget and put a lot of people looking for another job when they're not qualified to do the one they have now. So the decision is documented in a manner in which the decision by customer-facing decision maker will state what the issue is and what you disagree to, the reason for the objection, the remedy that's being sought, and the implementation. And in that, the individual should be discussing what information will be required should the decision be overturned. And so this is something we've done for years with my paralegal firm and now with our WSIBsettlements.com. We were always ready so that if, let's say, for example, the appeal was the manner in which the loss of earnings was calculated. So if we disagreed with that and understanding that the WSIB requires Option C forms from the Canada Revenue Agency or provided by the worker, the claimant, tax assessments, T4 slips, any earnings information that would be required to do that calculation, we would obtain that from the client ahead of time so that if the decision was made in the client's favor at any point throughout the appeal process, we would have that information ready so that the case manager could implement the decision with minimal delays. So this is something they should have been doing anyway for years. The fact that they're implementing it now, and it's such a simple strategy that could be used, it's just, again, one of those reasons why I think they're inefficient, period. So if we move on to number 2 here, objection review of intent to object form. So if the party continues to disagree, they submit the intent to object form, which is referred to by the decision maker. Of course, you already know this is part of the process. So the decision maker reviews the intent to object form and looks for submissions. If there are no submissions and prior to contact was successful, if there are no submissions and prior contact was unsuccessful, decision maker contacts party and uses alternative dispute resolution skills to better understand, discuss, and attempt to resolve the issue. So that's another phone call after that initial review to go over pretty much the same thing. If the party continues to disagree, the decision maker confirms the specific issue, the reason they believe the decision is incorrect, and the desired outcome. Decision maker advises of information needed for implementation of decision changes. So again, they're using another contact point to get that information that should be available if the decision is made in favor of the claimant. If the intent to object form is not actioned within 14 days, it is escalated to a manager. Again, this is something that we have within our process at WSIB Settlements. So there are specific follow-up letters that we have that our members can access through their app and follow up within a week of any decision or any activity having taken place, so that they're not waiting around for the WSIB to deal with the issue or, forget about the issue altogether. So anyway, these are strategies that could and should have been implemented a long time ago. They did say that this is an internal process that is alerted within their software so that the manager is notified if the case manager hasn't actioned that objection form within those 14 days. So moving on to number 3, objection, review of intent to object form, continued. Oh my goodness. If there's a submission attached to the intent to object or we receive additional information, a formal reconsideration is required and must be completed within a 14-day period unless exceptional circumstances exist. And so the process that they're using is the decision maker starts formal reconsideration process and contacts objecting party to confirm 4 critical pieces of information noted in step 1. The issue, the reason for the objection, the remedy sought, and implementation. Well, if you got that through inquiries in step 1, why do you got to do it again? That just, it's silly. But anyway, here we go. The decision maker also contacts the non-objecting party to explain and seek any additional information or argument. Alternate dispute resolution skills are used throughout both discussions. I don't understand why that's being made. The non-objecting party would be, for example, your employer. If you're objecting to a particular issue and your employer is given an opportunity to participate in the objection process and they decide not to, I don't really know why they should be contacted a second time to for their input. It shouldn't be happening. They've been given an opportunity. They declined to do that. No more time should be wasted in this process. They should be moving. So then they go on. If the decision is overturned, the appeal process ends. In other words, if the decision was done in your favor, then they will proceed with implementation, and there's the objection process ends at that point. If the decision is upheld, the reconsideration letter will include a reminder of any information needed for implementation. If the decision changes, the decision is referred to, and the decision is referred to access. Holy shit. Again, 3 times they're requesting information that they may need in the event the decision is made in your favor. So that's 3 times within that process of the objection and then the reconsideration and yada, yada, yada. So you can see how this can become quite irritating and stressful for someone who just wants to move on with the process. Someone who just wants to get somebody who can actually make a decision in their favor so they can move on, rather than going through all of these little loops and steps that at one point you may just say, screw it, give up, and then the process doesn't get completed. Seems quite shameful. Actually, that's the wrong term. It's bullshit. Plain and simple, it's bullshit. All of these checks and balances that they're doing to keep them reminded of what they should be doing. You shouldn't have to remind these people what they should be doing. They should just be doing it. So, moving on to number 4, file access. If any of the issues listed on the intent to object form are included in 8 issues listed below on their own or coupled with other issues, the decision maker creates a priority referral to access. So this has to do with appeal time limits and the fact that return to work issues have a 30-day appeal time limit. So the 8 issues are modified work, a return to work plan, suitable work, suitable occupation, determining earnings related to a suitable occupation, labor market reentry plan, return to work plan with training or work transition plan, non-cooperation and return to work or reemployment. Access then expedites the referral. So of course they would have to, because if they want to make sure that they can force you to stick to that 30-day appeal time limit, they got to get their act together to get this in an expedited manner. This is in fact the only time that they have their act together that I see to expedite things. And you all know what I think about this whole process and the 30-day time limit on return to work issues. I think that it's just another way to screw you out of an appeal, to give you limited time, 30 days, to appeal something that is very, very serious, that can have huge impacts on your claim, and the payment of benefits. Because if you don't appeal those things within 30 days, you're screwed and shit out of luck. Anyway, you can review my video or view my video on this matter done about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So moving on to number 5, ready to appeal. Review of appeal readiness form. And this is what they're saying. Once the appeal readiness form is received and registered, it is referred to the decision maker's manager, who reviews it within 7 days and makes sure, again, we have the tools to make sure that they stick with those timelines. We're not waiting or not trusting or relying on them to do so, despite the fact that they claim to do so. The manager looks at issues in dispute that are identified and correct, that time limits are met, new issues were addressed, and any reconsiderations complete, decision quality and correctness, jurisdictional correctness, correct policy legislation, prior appeals resolution officer, workplace safety insurance appeals tribunal decisions adhered to and implemented. Of course. So why are they leaving this for a manager to do all of those things, to check all of those items on that list? That manager should be, if that manager is so experienced, to ensure that all of those issues are properly addressed, and particularly the law, jurisdiction, previous decisions by the tribunal or the workplace safety or the WSIB Appeal Services Division, if that person is so knowledgeable and so experienced, they should be the frontline person making the original decision to minimize errors in that decision, to give full weight to evidence, to make sure that it's done within the law and policies, that it's not in violation of a previous decision made by the tribunal or the WSIB's Appeal Services Division, which deals with jurisdiction, that they can't overstep that jurisdiction. Why not have that person as the frontline person making the original decision? Well, that's because they like to waste time and put you through hoops, because the more hoops they put you through and the more time wasted and the more stressed you are, and particularly if you're not receiving any income, the more apt you're going to be to give up, and holy shit, they get to keep the fucking money. This is discouragement by design. Very crafty, very well put together system to discourage by design. These are my own opinions based on, again, over 30 years of dealing with these people. The manager reviews the file for any additional linked issues in all registered appeal readiness forms for a holistic approach. Again, an experienced case manager or eligibility adjudicator or return to work specialist should have been in a position to do that. If the manager identifies any issues needing remediation, the decision maker follows the formal reconsideration process as before. What does that mean? It means you get to go back to step 2 or 4 or 3 because somebody didn't do something, not you, but they didn't do it. Because if the manager identifies any issues needing remediation, well, that means that the person who was handling it before didn't do it right, didn't do it properly. And if there's any room for that to take place, those experienced managers and appeals resolution officers should be the frontline decision makers, not 2 or 3 levels above that, where time has been wasted. If the decision changes, the appeal ends, and of course, they're going to implement the decision and make sure that all of those items that should have been there to implement the decision as quickly as possible are there. So now we've arrived finally at the intake process within the Appeal Services Division. This is number 6. They're calling it a triage. Intake and triage reviews the appeal readiness form and the file to confirm 4 critical pieces of information. So in other words, you now have an appeals resolution officer who probably earns more money than a manager or the previous case manager, having to check once again if those key issues are in the appeal readiness form. The issue, if it's well defined, reasons for objection, remedy sought, implementation, what information would be required if it's overturned and the decision is being implemented. Again, so now you have another person in the appeals branch doing that work again. Friends, I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is this is bullshit. This is going from bad to worse. These people don't get it. They don't get the fact that you don't have all the fucking time in the world to wait for them to dance around with this shit. They don't get the fact that if you're not being paid, you're not able to pay your bills, your mortgage, your car payments, put food on the table, put money away for your kids' education, all of those things that we all work very hard to do. They don't care. But if one of them, just one of these people who are coming up with these clever ideas went a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months without getting paid, and their lives being in limbo, relying on a system that is inefficient, they would understand what your predicament is. And rather than continue to put all of these stupid, asinine processes together and misuse or misallocate funds that could be better served in other areas, like frontline decision makers. Sick. In my opinion, the process is stacked against you. And unless you have a way to cut through all of that bullshit quickly, you'll be stuck waiting. Please visit WSIBsettlements.com, my company. We have everything there to help you, to make sure that you're not stuck in this limbo, that things are moving along. We have the expertise to do that. If you're not being represented, or if you are being represented, and if you have any concerns about that, visit WSIBsettlements.com here on the screen, or you can send me an email at joemachado@WSIBsettlements.com with your concerns, what your issues are, and I will gladly respond. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you to the channel. I hope that you've seen something here that has been helpful. I invite you to become a subscriber. It's free. Nobody's looking for money. All the information I provide on this channel is free. I've got over 148 videos now in just a little over a year, and I've got tons more content for this channel to help injured workers find out what their rights are, to have the resources to help them, and to be able to provide hands-on representation if required. We can assess the whole thing. So I welcome you to do that. We also have tools that will be able to keep you on track with some of these steps and processes. And I'm going to talk about the tools that we have at greater length after next Wednesday's meeting. I'm going to go into our app, what it does, and I'm pretty certain you're going to be very impressed, and the feedback we get from our members is just very, very positive. So today, to end today's episode, I'm going to leave you with Mr. Smiley's tip of the day, as always. And so here it goes. If you're considering appealing a decision in your claim, make sure you're ready to proceed. And so what I mean by that is, you only have one kick at the can if you're going to the WSIB Appeal Services Division or the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal, and you want to put your best foot forward. You want to make sure that the issues are well defined, that you have all of the information, all of the support that you need to succeed in your appeal, or to have the best chance at succeeding. We have two tools within our app and that we offer our members, and they've taken advantage of it, and the feedback is amazing. So one of them is the WSIB case audit and action plan. So we do a very thorough, in-depth review of your case and put together a written, itemized action plan as to what needs to be done. The other one is the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal case audit and appeal ready review. So we want to make sure that when we do that audit for you and we provide a report, that we outline any areas that could represent weaknesses in your case, and suggestions or recommendations as to how to strengthen those areas, so that you're appeal ready, so that when you are in front of the tribunal, and some of our members have sought and obtained these audits and are being represented by someone else, but it just gives them an in-depth look into their case, their own case, and a different set of eyes and maybe comfort level into whether or not they feel comfortable with where they are or whether they need to make changes. So those are the two tools that we provide as well within WSIB settlements. So I encourage you to visit our site, see what it's all about, and then you decide if it's something that you want or not. Either way, it's okay. So talking about the next episode, I'm going to talk about what happens when your case is at the Appeals Services Division. So we left off with the appeal is with a triage, appeals triage, which is an appeals resolution officer, and then what happens at that point. Okay, and so by that point, we will have covered this, these changes that they're making. All right, friends, as usual, thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Please become a subscriber. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content, and comment on my video, and I will certainly respond to that. And by all means, send me an email if you have any other questions. All right, friends, and as always, until next time, take care.